Hi everyone. Today I wanted to hop on here and make a video talking about observer freakouts. If you're new here, my official full type is double feminine, SETE, play, blast, sleep, and I'm missing consume. It does make me an ESFP jumper, glass lizard, social type 1. Videos are hard for me because I get really bothered by the way I look. Okay, anyway, you know what? I'm just not gonna look at myself. The big news in the community lately has been about Dave and Shan's breakup. They handled it so well and so gracefully because it had already happened several years in the past and they're just announcing it now, which good for them. I'm sure they're only sharing the tip of the iceberg of the issues that they face, but I feel like they're showing it to us in a lens of objective personality. I just think that's so helpful to all of us. I feel really lucky that I happened to end up with my husband, who I think is the perfect counterpart for me. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. My husband is in Myers-Briggs in INTJ. Although he is not officially typed in ops, I suspect that he is a double masculine, NIFI, sleep, blast, consume, and missing play, and a social type number 1. The person who shares that exact same personality type would be Steve Jobs. He is just someone that I absolutely adore and admire. I think he gets a lot of shit about being too abrasive on people, too controlling. He was not a generous person in any way, but he's so brilliant. And I see a lot of the same things in my husband, but at the end of the day, like that is just my type. I don't know how else to describe it. That is what I'm attracted to. Okay, so anyway, what I wanted to talk about was really the things that Dave and Shan shared about where they would butt heads. I thought was so interesting. They don't owe us any explanation, but the fact that they're sharing it gives us such an incredible lens into ops. Even if we have this knowledge and awareness of our deficiencies and our demon functions and our missing animals, it's so unconscious that we're still going to trip up no matter how hard we study it because it is our blind spot. What I kind of got out of it is that what ultimately didn't work for them is the decider versus observer situation. It's so interesting. I know for me, I really appreciate that I'm in an observer marriage because I don't know that I could handle being married to someone who was a decider. Hats off to those who are in observer decider relationships because that sounds really tough to me. I'm not just like saying that, it comes from a little bit of experience. I actually dated a decider for 7 years. I'm not that old, so it was a pretty big portion of my life. It was such a serious relationship where I think everyone around us thought that we were going to get married. I ultimately broke it off. Okay, I don't want to make it about the relationship. I just wanted to discuss a little bit about what I thought didn't work, and it was the whole decider versus observer thing. In Myers-Briggs, he was an ENFJ, very strong FE user, and that's where it just didn't work for me because I am demon masculine FI, all of that FE, it just didn't work for me. Okay, come on, Candace, elaborate. Yes, I'm trying to. I think, especially in my younger, naive days, as a very masculine FI user, whenever I was in a relationship, it was like I became so possessive of that person and I wanted it to be just us. And I wanted to be the only object of their affection and I wanted to be it. My ex-boyfriend, I adored him at the time and I think we were good together, but we were also toxic in a lot of ways, but it's just because we were so young. We got together in high school and we were together for 7 years. We split up for college, but then ended up transferring together. And there was just a lot. We both had to go through a lot of our own personal growth and ultimately we're both better apart, but it was a very intense and serious relationship. One of the big issues that I thought I had in that previous relationship, he was a very FE user. He really adored his family and that's a good thing. That's a good okay. There was just way too many like family outings, family barbecues. They all lived within close proximity, and I think his aunt was actually saving a plot of land behind their house so that we could live there. It just it was too much for me. I think it would have been someone else's dream to be in that situation. Unfortunately for me, it just wasn't. I always felt a little bit claustrophobic, I guess. I felt like I was being forced into a situation that I didn't want to be in. Ultimately, like I always had these feelings and I just didn't really know how to express it. Okay, going back to the whole FI thing, I am very possessive in a relationship because if I love someone, they're it. They're it. I'm very much a serial monogamist. I have exes at the time, they were my whole entire world. And that's also how I wanted to be treated too. I wanted to be their whole entire world. Okay, here's what I'm trying to get to is that he also had a little bit of a straying eye. I could not handle that. And it's normal, right? We were in high school. Of course, eyes are going to be wandering. That was a lot of the inner demons that I was facing at the time. I became that toxic, I guess, controlling ended up being that super toxic, insecure person that I didn't want to be. It was like I became that girl who would go through texts or look through email threads and find things. It was so toxic looking back. It was just a very, I guess, flirty type, but so was I. And so it became almost like a weapon we would use against each other. And I knew in my heart of hearts even then that I cannot be with someone like that because it just triggers my masculine FI jealousy so hard that it ruins my life. I could not stand it. It drove me insane. It made me miserable. It made me hold on to him harder. But the thing is, I don't think that we were good together. Do I regret the relationship at all? No, no, absolutely not. I feel like I learned so much about myself and how to be in a relationship, how also to not be. And the thing that I just love so much about my husband right now is that I have absolutely no need to worry about that kind of stuff. I've never met someone who just has no wandering eye, and it's so nice. I think that in our relationship, especially at the start, I was that bitch with the wandering eye, you know? Because when you're young and you get noticed or you notice other people, it's just this like chemical game. But with him, there's none of that, and I love it so much. I never feel the need to look through his things or his texts. Like I just trust him so much because he's so laser focused on his goals. And I don't know, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's just so much stability, so much trust. It's so nice having that sense of security. It's just nice. You know those videos where girlfriends will record on a mirror what their boyfriend is looking at on their phone, and it's like girls and boobs. For me, every time I like catch a glimpse of my husband's phone, it's literally cars and Facebook Market and available cars and vehicles, car parts and stocks, reporting and trading and Excel sheets. I love it. I highly recommend dating a man like that. Nobody is a threat. I feel like his entire world, which is all I wanted, and I got it. Okay. I also see the similarities with Steve Jobs. It's not like he has any of these headlines or scandals where he had some mistress. Most of his scandals is that he was an asshole. And he was like a dick to his ex-wife or baby mama and a dick to his children and stuff like that. But I don't know, he just went all in on his goals and that's so attractive. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my type. I already know that if anything happens to my husband, God forbid, no, no, no. I would love to grow old with him forever and ever and ever and die together. But God forbid, if anything ever happened to him, I already know exactly what type I'm going to date next. Not that I'm going to, okay? I'm just saying I've experienced it. I like it. That's what I'm gonna do. That's the only person that I would like to date next. Not that I'm going to. So anyway, when Dave and Shan talked about their breakup that happened, years ago, they mentioned that it had a lot to do with Dave making a big deal about his observer freakouts, which he has shared. We all know this about him, but he would just explode about observer things because he's raising his voice and just being a total dick about it. Shan would take it personally as a decider, and it would just lead to a lot of hurt feelings and resentment. And of course, when you're living together, working together, you're a couple, I can imagine that that sucks. For example, if the website's not working, the technology's not working, the printer's not working, he would just absolutely lose his mind mind, and then it would just create friction between the two of them because she could not help but take it personally. And that makes so much sense, right? And I can imagine that the needs of each are not being met. I'm sure he's just venting on a very unconscious level, but that's because he's wired to do so. But she's also wired to take everything personally. And so, of course, the math adds up. I wanted to share a little bit more about observer freakouts and the way that I experience them because I think it's so interesting. A lot of people are like, what are observer freakouts? People freakouts make sense, but what are thing freakouts, right? And it does get defined a lot as raging at things or missing information, or it's not the person, it's not personal, it's always the things behind something not working out, or this not fitting into this, or something's missing, stuff like that, that just sends us over the edge. I think that my husband has been such an interesting case of this as well. I kind of understand where Shan is coming from because when he does rage about those things, I don't like it. I'm also not going to take it as personally because I'm not a decider. So there's a part of me that's like, I get it. But for me, because his TE and also his SE is in a masculine demon state, he gets real mad at the things, whereas I am a savior feminine SETE. And so I'm kind of like, it's not that big of a deal, you know, like shit happens. You can't control the weather. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers him. So it's a very interesting lens to see physical raging at the things freak out. I just wanted to bring up a few examples that I've noticed. This just happened like yesterday. So we ran out of photocopier paper in the office. So we stopped by at Office Max, online order, curbside pickup. He is all about efficiency. At this point, I'm already up in the office. And then the next thing I know, I just hear boxes being thrown and I'm like, what is going on? He comes in and his pants have all these wet splotches and I'm like, what happened? And he's like, I don't know why they can't make those boxes better quality. I'm sympathetic because I know that it bothers him so much. The box broke, and so the inner boxes with the printed outer thingies rubbed up on his pants, and all this red ink rubbed off on his light khaki pants, and so he had to go to the bathroom, scrub it all off. Now his pants are wet and he's pissed. You know what I mean? But I get it. I get it. After that happens, I just hear him throwing boxes down the stairs. That's the kind of physical raging. I get it because I'm an observer, but I'm also a savior feminine SETE. So those things don't really bother me. It's kind of like, shit happens. Shit happens, you know? Another example was when we were picking up a lot of things for our restaurant operations at Sam's Club. We had this very efficient system and we knew exactly what aisles to go to. We had these baskets that would fold out. It's stackable. There was this one time where he was trying to open up the basket and it wasn't cooperating. And he got so mad that in the parking lot, he just grabs the basket and throws it. And then it shatters and it breaks. And I'm thinking, well, great. We just lost a basket, you know? I don't know. He's so mad. And so I'm just standing there like, I don't want to contribute to this. I don't want to make him angrier. So I'm just standing there like helping to load the car. Of course it makes me uncomfortable. But this is what the masculine SC is, just physically aggressive. And I think in the past, when he used to do that kind of stuff, of course I would take it personally. Like, why are you being like that? Like, why are you acting like that around me? Like, why are you bringing me into this when it's like clearly like your problem? But now I just sort of let it diffuse. So the thing with him is he is a savior feminine, FI. And so, yeah, like things like piss him off real hard in the moment, but because it's feminine, it just kind of dissipates. It dissipates. But for me, because I'm a masculine demon FI, when things trigger me, it does not dissipate. No dissipation, no dissipation. So I guess that's where the trade-off is. Like when he sees me mad, like demon masculine FI mad, yeah, the physical things do happen to me too, like raging at physical things. So one example, I update the TV screens that rotate at our restaurant establishment, promotions and things that we're trying to push. I have 4 USB thumb drives, okay? So there's 2 TVs that I plug it into, and then when something has to be updated, I update the other 2 and then I just swap them. I have one janky USB thumb drive that like sometimes doesn't read when I put it into my computer. I'm like blowing into it. It's not detecting. And I swear I wasted like 15 to 20 minutes just like blowing into the receiver and like shoving it in, and it really pissed me off. Not to the point where I would like throw it or break it, but I just wanted to scream and say, fuck this shit and go home, you know? So I'm not immune to that kind of stuff. It definitely happens to me. But I think where I get a little bit more triggered is the missing information type of stuff. I do get stuck on, for example, accusing people when I suspect there's a little bit of missing information at play. I don't know why, but things like shrinkage used to make me so angry. So I run the merchandising for our family's brewery. Whenever like things would go missing, come on, come on. That's just like an easy trap for me, okay? It's my job to track all of the transfers that happen from storage to merch shop, all the things that are rung in, everything that's on display. Like I track all of that and I go to great lengths to make sure that inventory is accurate. And so whenever these big things go missing, I'll go into these spirals where I'll be looking at all the CCTV footage because I need to know. Because I need to know. Did a staff take it? Did someone drank a few too many beers, walk out with it without paying? Did I mess up on a transfer and I missed it? So I do get very, very intensely sucked into these situations where I need to know the missing information. And because of that, if I go down an incorrect NI pathway, I start to accuse people and situations that aren't even true, but I've kind of connected the dots and think that I'm onto something. And that happens to me a lot. I think if you have that problem, you just have to be wrong and then get humbled. If you don't accept it, take ownership of it, and change it, you're always going to be pointing fingers and then realizing you're wrong and then feeling like a piece of shit. You just have to go through that. So you stop doing it. I'll start to create little conspiracy theories. For example, if there's an employee who is normally like really, really personable, but all of a sudden he's just being like really snippy at customers and like walking out, I start to think, okay, well, he was like way too high energy on this day, scrubbing the floors with a manic look in his eyes. And so in my head, I start to build up this theory of, okay, he's definitely abusing his ADHD prescription meds or on cocaine, and it's like, do I have all the information to be able to say that? No, but that's where my brain goes. So those are the kind of things that I consider my observer freakouts is definitely the missing information. Even when, there's like people problems, the first thing I jump to is not this is an issue between me and them. It's more like why do they think that? Is it because they didn't realize that this happened and this is what they were told, even though this didn't happen? Like it's that. It's not a personal attack. It's a why did this happen? And then the last thing that Dave and Shan did mention that became a source of tension in their relationship was Dave's consume last. I'm a consume last. And so I really took this to heart and started thinking about, okay, what am I not updating? What am I, because I also work with my husband. We run our business together. I probably do that where I'm not updating some. I think for him, it was his inability to update systems, which is interesting because he is NI. So you would think he'd be looking more toward the long-term future, but I guess he does get stuck in his own ways. Shan was saying that he just could not get out of his Google Sheets, Google Docs empire. And I so relate to that because once I have a system of something, I just don't like to learn new things. I know that sounds so lame, but it's true. I don't like to have to learn the new platform and then transfer everything over. It's just a lot of work. So I know that he is still in his like Google Docs and his WordPress days. One thing that I struggle with kind of in that same regard, for example, 10 years ago, I don't know, feminine SE, whatever. 8 years ago, something like that, I started paying for this notes app service called Bear, and I started writing all my notes in there, like just notes and notes and just a ton of stuff. It turned into a massive dump of notes for me, and it's like a $12.99 yearly subscription. At the time, my husband and I both we got on it. It was new at the time, but it got to a point where he was like, I'm gonna hop off of it. I'm gonna hop off of it, transfer all my notes. And I'm thinking like, okay, that was like 8 years ago. I've been thinking every year, like, oh God, it's gonna renew soon. I should probably transfer off of it, but I don't. And so I just have this massive buildup and pile up of notes there that I'm not doing anything with. And it's like that's the kind of stuff. It's like I can't like move on to the next thing because I'm just stuck in that previous one. And like even for like social media, with my current business and my past businesses, I was always in charge of the social media. I think I really excelled when it was just things like posts. But like obviously it's moving quickly and we're at a point now where businesses are expected and required to be putting out reels, TikToks, videos. And I think there's just this huge resistance in me to move on to that because I just feel like I'm comfortable in photos and graphics and posts and carousels and captions. But the thing is, I need to make that mental switch. I know that it's something that I'm avoiding. It's something that I just need to do. And it's probably something that other people are noticing as a void in me as a social media manager. And so I just have to do it. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's where I'm kind of seeing my consume last as well in that similar vein. But this is what I'm talking about. Like with ops, you you get so much out of it over time because we are constantly evolving as people and we'll clear one level and one boss only to get a clearer eye at the next one. And so it's kind of neat that you can just keep leveling up, but at the same time knowing that we are humans, and especially as a savior feminine SE, the NI truths that I learn and I think are so profound, I forget it within like 3 days, you know? So it's just this constant game of trying to remember what you're trying to remember to become a better person and to face head on the things that you're avoiding. Anyway, it just all feels like a fun game when you look at it that way. I used to get made fun of a lot because I would just think of everything as a game. My freshman year of college, I was pledging to be in this sorority. It was like 10 weeks of it was just really annoying. We didn't get like physically hazed or anything, but it was just like really annoying shit that we had to do. I was that one pledge who was always like, whatever, it's a game and I'm gonna win. And meanwhile, the other girls are like crying and sobbing, like, I can't do this. But I'm like, it's a game. But that's sort of my general attitude towards everything. Even like work, it's a game. Maybe that's my social type number one coming out is that I'm competitive and I like to win, you know? Although it has been really interesting and eye-opening that for social type number ones, it's that competitiveness that creates issues with friends. And that's why we have demon friends. That's an interesting topic that I want to hit in another video. But anyway, today I just wanted to talk about these observer freakouts. And thank you for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one.